Yes. Oh, hello, everybody. Very warm welcome. Welcome to this one. I tell you, this one has come up fast for us. For those of you who don't know who we are, my name is Ray Lavery, and with me, obviously, is the wonderful Jess Crooks. It is her who has done 99% of the hard work that was involved in this film. Everything to this, so it's absolutely amazing. Now, together, she and I run the London Transgender Meetup Group, really Trans Matters Worldwide. And what we are doing is we are bringing trans positive media in answer to all of the stuff that's happening out there at the moment. And it's incredible how fast that we have done this, but really how fast Jess has done this. So tonight is, as you know, the premiere of our fourth film, What Keeps You Up at Night. So we are very excited about this. I've seen Jess showed me the rough edit, so I haven't seen the finished version yet. So I'm really looking forward to this. And I have to say, we are so proud to be able to make this. This is four films in less than a year. That's what we've managed to do. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the other ones, we have also released What is Trans Joy, What is Trans Pride, and What is Trans Dysphoria. And that is all available to watch on our YouTube channel at any time that you want. But don't go anywhere because we're going to release another one now. You can watch the other ones later. They're not going anywhere, I promise you. So, anyway, we're very, very proud of this. And it's very exciting to have you all here. Jess, do you want to say anything by way of introduction or?
No, not massively. I just want to thank you all for coming. This film really means a lot to me, and I really hope you like it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, fantastic. And so, look, what we're going to do as well is we are going to just pop on and watch the film now in a couple of seconds. And then after that, what we will do is we will come back and we will have a Q&A with Jess and also a Q&A with some of the cast members who are also, waiting in the wings as well, so that you get the full blown effect of what has been going on. And that's it. So I guess that's kind of enough from me. Shall we cue the film, Jess, and let it go?
Let's do it. All right, guys, we'll be back. We'll be back after the film. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
I think we did it, guys.
Here's Jess.
Okay, we're all good. How are you feeling, Izzy?
Good, yeah. This is the strangest interview I've ever given.
I don't think it's my strangest. I still think The Shining is like interviewing
Through a door.
through a door that you've just broken is quite, yeah, that's probably the one for me so far in. Okay, so first question for everyone. We're here today in a recreation of the film The Exorcist. Could you talk a little bit about what The Exorcist means to you?
I remember, and we were talking about this before we started rolling, I remember as a kid, The Exorcist was set up as this absolutely petrifying movie, and I didn't see it until I was quite a bit older. And I remember thinking, because I grew up in a very religious household, and I first watched it, and I was like, this is all just a bit silly. So I think I saw it probably about the same time as I became an atheist. And I remember thinking, looking at The Exorcist, and like, this is just silly. Because for me, horror is, at its definition, is silly. It is intentionally finding spaces to scare yourself through a TV screen. It's innately ridiculous. I think that mixed in with the idea that there was this sort of absurd power that could come in this outfit that could somehow save the day, which just seemed ridiculous to me. But yeah.
Very superhero when you put it that way.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, it was one of like the first real horror films I watched. I started with Alien vs Predator, terrible film, but then I really got to enjoy Alien. Yeah, it's quite a lonely film because Sigourney Weaver just trying to survive on her own, and I can really like relate with Sigourney Weaver now. That's the type of character, type of actress that I like to watch.
What is it about the Sigourney Weaver character that you relate to, you think?
She's very strong, clear-headed when there is a lot of stress and a lot of danger, and has determination, will do what is needed to survive.
Great answer. Love that answer.
Part of my high school experience was finding girls who wanted to be my friend up to a certain point. And then inevitably, they would just drop me, and I never knew why. I found a lot of friends with other boys, which I didn't see myself as yet, but they always saw me as one of the guys, and there were the sort of barriers that were broken down when I was with them that they wouldn't have had with other girls. So I always found more friendship there and felt like I fit in more with those boys than ever with any of the girls. When I was 19, I heard the word genderqueer, which was the first thing that ever tipped me into maybe that's why I'm a little bit different. But it wasn't until I was 33 that I actually came out. I felt like if I could exist in a sort of middle ground, if I could occupy the gray space that there was, then I could make myself comfortable. But it never really worked that way. Carrie was one of those figures where she didn't fit in and she didn't really know why. The scene with the blood dumped on her was the point at which she felt the most like she was going to be able to fit in with them. And then suddenly she realized that it was all a sham and she was never going to actually be seen as one of the kids that she wanted to be. Was actually... Oh my God. Okay.
I really loved though that sort of 70s horror moment where you had things like Rosemary's Baby, you had The Exorcist, you had a lot of movies where horror was treated with a bit of seriousness, because you've got all of the slasher movies and then suddenly you've got these movies that are trying to actually scare people on like a deeper level. Whether they do or not is another matter, but it's interesting, I think, as horror shifts from the ridiculous to trying to be serious and back again. And you're out the end of the Hammer horror moment, you're into this space of seriousness, and then cut to the 80s and we're killing teenagers by the dozen in sort of slash movies again. So it's sort of, yeah, I think that's quite interesting.
You know, guys come up to you, they can stop you, ask you for your number, and then sometimes you feel like, oh gosh, if I don't get my number, it could turn nasty. And I do get quite a lot of guys that just think that they can just touch you or inappropriately, you know, say things to you that they wouldn't say to a normal cis woman, which I can find quite a challenge as well, because it's like sometimes we get treated like a third-class citizen in so many different ways that it can be really off-putting as well. And I'm not a piece of meat, I actually respect myself. And trans people are not just about one thing, we're about so many different things. And I think, you know, by doing these documentaries and being in different places and showing people that we've got talents and we can do many different things, because we're often sexualized or objectified. And I'd like to see that change.
The Blair Witch Project, to me, it's that more realistic experience of humanity, like in the unknown, and seeing and hearing and sensorily seeing things and feeling things in the world that might not be there and might not be comprehensible, and that kind of raw nature of not knowing what is out there, what is going to happen throughout the night. Not knowing what may happen in the future, whether that be in the next hour, in the next day, or in years to come. And that almost like unites us as humans, I guess, in that wanting to understand, wanting to know more about the world, but never being able to come to that realization. And unfortunately, due to a lot of negative stuff that happens in the world, it means that people can be scared of that unknown.
Salem's Lot is a film that I watched when I was a child, when I was surrounded by my family units. And as I've grown up, the fear that I used to feel at that movie is the sadness and fear at the loneliness and the thought of living the rest of my life without any contact with my family, feeling sad, feeling rejected, feeling alone.
I hadn't seen Salem's Lot prior to working on this film and working with you here. The town has a big secret that, you know, they all keep amongst themselves but keep away from people on the outside. Is there maybe a suggestion that there's a parallel with your own life in that respect?
Very, very much so. I think that my transsexualness, my transgenderism, however you want to term it, was always there. It was something that my family just kept quiet. I transitioned very, very young. I transitioned at the age of 15, having my full gender realignment surgery when I was 19. I didn't understand where I fitted in. I didn't understand why I looked the way I looked when I was naked. It was a roller coaster of emotions that I just didn't understand. I would find shoes that belonged to relatives, and at bedtime I'd be upstairs in my bedroom and I'd have my high heels on and I'd find lipstick from somewhere. And I remember family members coming in and I'd fallen asleep on the bed, but it was kept a secret, it was kept quiet. I would just grow out of it, it was a phase, but obviously I didn't, because I am the woman I am today because it was always in me. It's my true authentic self.
Okay, so we're here today, Sarah, in a recreation of the film The Silence of the Lambs. And I was wondering if you could maybe explain to us why that's relevant to your story in particular.
I was in prison for 30 years, and if I didn't get parole, I too would have been in prison for the rest of my life. I was fully aware of how much hatred there is outside for transgender prisoners, and it did have a big impact on my life in jail, and it may have had some influence in keeping me in jail for so long. Before the lockdown, there was a 28% increase in attacks on the LGBTQIA community, not just in London, but across the country. This happens in prison too. If you're a transgender prisoner and someone comes up and throws a bucket of water over you, drags you in the shower and rapes you, stabs you, everybody laughs, nobody cares. In the prison system, there is no humanity. And I'm afraid that that kind of attitude towards the transgender community in particular is held here too. Then I hear about cases like the senseless murder of Brianna Jai, and it breaks my heart. Brianna was not on her own. These kind of stories are coming to me every day from across the globe. If you're trans, it's like having a target on your back saying, "Punch my face in." That's what it seems like. And then it gets even worse, because being attacked by strangers is one thing, but what about when you get attacked by your own family? We're disgusted with you, you're revolting, you're vile. These are things that the transgender community and the non-binary community too have to suffer every day.
Due to my activism against the systems and the institutions in the world, it's meant that there has been a lot of opposition and a lot of cultural rhetoric and violence, physically, verbally, emotionally, to many of the communities that I fall within. And I feel that, not knowing that, like, say, if in 10 years' time I could be murdered just for being who I am. I know people personally that have been murdered. I'm going to a funeral next week to someone within the queer community who is no longer with us because of that, and knowing that it's just not just affecting me and many people that I know, knowing that that could happen to me or more people that I care about, it's really hard to comprehend. It always weighs on me, but it won't stop me from doing what I'm doing.
I worry about my trans friends, people I know who are really struggling with the attacks on our community, people who've been sexually assaulted, people who are contemplating detransition. There's so much going on. But also I'm a teacher, and over the years I've taught trans students. I taught, when I started at my previous school 8 years ago, there was one student, one trans boy, and then the next year there were two, and so on, and then after the pandemic there were quite a few more. One of the most haunting things I've ever seen are the signs of self-harm on trans boys' arms, and that's something that doesn't just keep me up at night, it's something that makes it hard during the day sometimes to know that the callousness of some of the policies the government has advanced in the past are worsening the mental health of trans children and are increasing the likelihood of violent attacks. And these things trouble me immensely. When a while ago I had one very, very rare incident where some students at my school made unpleasant noises at me. I looked very vulnerable. Usually when I'm walking down a corridor I try to look as assertive as possible, and people are fine and people have been very accepting. But this one particular time they were trying to be sort of intimidating and threatening, and someone said, "It's a man." And in that moment I thought, if there were a trans student who received that kind of treatment, that could be the last straw for them. A young person who doesn't have hormones, doesn't have a support network, doesn't have a therapist. These are the kind of things that keep me up at night. These are the things that really, really trouble me, that we are not trying to just make people's lives better, we're trying to keep people alive at this point. The whole conceit of this, horror movies, is very, very appropriate. It's not hyperbole at all, as far as I'm concerned.
At the moment, we're the only community that can be demonized, and nobody seems to care. We have like Richie Sunak, who says to Keir Starmer wants to be a Prime Minister. He doesn't even know what a woman is. That's from Richie Sunak. And it happens with Kemi Badenoch, Suella Braverman. These people are insane. And I know, I've been in a psychiatric hospital. These people are actual lunatics. They would rather transgender community were just killed. I mean, they say this in private, and some of them speak it in public.
I suppose the question of the hour would be, in relation to your trans identity, what keeps you up at night?
The main one is honestly J.K. Rowling. I think there's threefold for why. One is how much Harry Potter means to me and has meant to me growing up. Number two is how much it means to the people around me. And number three is just the way that the world reacts to her, and the praise that they give her, and the I want to say acceptance that they give her and her ridiculous ideas. It really gets to me.
I think there are a lot of allies in the LGBTQ plus community who maybe give her a little bit of a pass because of how much they love those works and maybe don't fully appreciate how far in the paint she's gotten. Very ironic to say that with a face full of oil-based makeup.
My definition of a TERF is a hate-filled monster, not just to the trans community, but probably to their own families too. The term was given to people who identify as a trans exclusionary radical feminist. But what does that mean? Yeah, it's not just women, it's men too. It's lunatics like Graham Linehan. It's lunatics like Posey Parker. It's rambling psychopaths like Joanna Rowling. These people with privilege, these people with power, these people with lots of followers across social media. Can I just speak freely?
Please do.
When I have to sit at home, when I have to go to meetings, when I have to go to memorials, because another trans kid has been killed or has committed suicide, because the fucking pressure which is put on people, it is unfair. People need to wake up. We're surrounded by loons. But these people, they think they're normal. They think they speak for the people. They think they speak for British people, but they don't. My experience of British people is that we are kind, we are generous, we are thoughtful, we're forgiving, and we are compassionate. But we have a noisy minority who will not shut up and they will not surrender political power.
You are on the front lines in a roundabout sense of the word, as far as dealing with this issue in particular. Are there changes that you would like to see happen to help make that fight a little bit easier?
Sure, absolutely. The new RSC guidance on relationships and sexual education has been described as the new Section 28 by many people, and if that were to come through, it would put a trans or even more so a non-binary person in the classroom in a really difficult position. You could be accused of spreading ideology just by sharing your pronouns. It's unlikely this guidance will come through as is, but that's precisely the sort of thing we need to be vigilant about. These attempts to discredit trans students and trans people generally, to imply that our existence somehow spreads ideology, and to frame all young people as gender questioning, when they're not questioning. They know, they're pretty clear. They're still exploring in terms of how they're going to present, but by the time you've told your first person, you've been thinking about this for years often, and this idea of discrediting trans people is all part of the process of trying to erase us.
I don't know what it is to be a woman. I don't. I care about my friends, I care about my community, and I also care about my enemies, which might seem quite odd. But I consider that now that I've grown up and matured, especially after the time in prison, that I have a more forgiving nature. I don't know what I want from life. I don't have any fixed concrete plans. Like most people outside, I'm winging it. I'm trying to do the best I can with what I got.
We're here today answering one question in particular.
Yeah.
And that question being, what keeps you up at night? And I was wondering if you could answer that for me.
A lot right now, quite a lot. I'm trying to get my bottom surgery sorted. I can't afford to go with the NHS waitlist. I think last time I checked it was like 6-7 years. I'm going privately because I need it. I don't think I would be here for 6-7 years if I had to wait. And what keeps me up at night is never, being able to have it, the surgery. It got a little bit close last year. Shortly after we filmed the last series, I lost my job, got laid off, and it got to the point where I was going to start going into my savings, going into my surgery fund. I thought I was going to get to a point where I couldn't afford it, or wait, or be able to wait for it, and yeah, I was in a pretty dark space when that was the case. Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that to start with.
Yeah.
There's so much emphasis put on surgery and the sort of wider trans conversation, but at the same time, I think for a lot of people, it's necessary as far as feeling comfortable in their own bodies.
Yeah.
And I think reaching that and achieving that is such an incredible goal, and it's obviously a lot to consider.
Yeah, and also just going through the surgery itself. I am terrified about the surgery itself, but it's something I need. It's something that I need to feel whole in that space.
I think what keeps me up at night is how thin the line is between order and chaos. Particularly as a trans person, how fragile a sense of order can be. When I first started HRT, it was life-changing for me, absolutely life-changing. And every time I go in to get my prescription, a little part of me sits there and panics for the whole time before it's confirmed, because who knows, maybe it disappears, maybe you lose that access. And then you look at things like the gas review and you think, well, how close are we to actually fucking chaos? I've got, can I swear? Yeah, okay, cool, fuck's sake. I think that line is so fragile. And you look at places like Ukraine, like the Congo, like Mali, Yemen, Palestine, and you think there are people who one day are sitting there, everything's great, and the next day they're in a war zone. And that fragility, I see a very similar fragility at that level, at a societal level, to what I think a lot of trans people experience on an individual level, which is you just don't know how close we are at any point. So I think that's something that petrifies me, to be honest. I would never not want to be visible. I don't care. I don't care what you throw at me, verbally, physically. I would never go back in the closet, ever. Couldn't imagine it, which is why we opened this discussion. I talked about HRT. The idea of not being me, and not being me on a chemical level, scares the living shit out of me, because I know how much better life is now I have the right hormones in my body. That privilege to be yourself. And God, I wish more cis people realized how much of a privilege that is. It's a gift, and it's a gift I would never let go of.
I think something I've certainly struggled with since coming out in general is trying to be more vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I think putting yourself in that kind of situation is a very vulnerable position.
Yeah.
I think we're taught to be almost loners and stoic and, self-reliant.
Yeah, that's been my life for quite a long time. Before I came out, I was very fortunate to have a really supportive sister who is trans as well. And it was great because I was helping her get through what she needed to do. But because I was not out at the time, I saw both sides of people, being very open and supportive to my sister in person, and then showing their real face behind her back. I'm not going to lie, when that did happen, I I almost killed myself. I can't trust those people right now by saying that they're going to support me, that they feel what I'm doing is right, and then behind my back saying things the opposite. And that's leading to that feeling alone. Yeah.
This is the second time I've had to say this in this series, but there is an element of hanging tough,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
You know, I think with all of our situations,
Yeah.
I think the way the country is at the moment, I think with
The
lots
world.
of things. Yeah.
And I'm a lot stronger now than I was. But there still is that fear of never having the surgery I want, and I'm doing everything in my power to make that happen. I have some really, really supportive people in my life right now. Very supportive people.
Who are those people in your life?
I have a really good girlfriend that has been really supportive with me, even though she's going through a lot herself. And I've got a lot of very close friends I'm very grateful to have.
More than anything else, I think the thing I think myself often is, you're still here.
Yeah.
Like you're still doing it, you're still trying to make it better. Like,
Yeah.
That's an incredible thing.
Yeah, I am so lucky to be able to afford the surgery. I know others can't. My sister went through the public route and I saw her struggles, and if I could have waved the magic wand and fixed it for her, I would have. I want to do everything in my power to help others.
The question I've been finishing on for these interviews is, are you able to empathise with those characters a little bit more? I think that question is really for me than it is for you in this scenario.
I can definitely relate to the character in that film at this stage. It's very like, almost like the end, like, oh, you can feel it happening and you don't know that it's happening, and then just the alien burst out and then that's it.
I feel like maybe part of it is so much the feeling that something is coming, you know, so she felt like something was coming, and for her that was the acceptance, the love that she thought that she was experiencing. It was an experience of standing here and feeling like I know what's coming but I don't know when. It was a real moment for me, I think.
I think the genuine terror in The Exorcist is one of control. And if you remove all the religious rubbish, what you're left with is a scared child who doesn't have control of their body. That feels like a very, very powerful analogy.
Going through what we go through gives us an awful amount of empathy and understanding, because it can be a real challenge and there's always ups and downs. So what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and I think we're definitely a lot stronger.
Whatever you choose to be, whoever you want to be, we should be allowed to be our true authentic selves without fear of persecution, without fear of rejection. We may not all follow the same lifestyles, but we are all human. In the name of humanity, just be humane towards the trans and LGBTQI community.
Oh, if I am ever institutionalised, I'm going to need stronger biceps.
That's all right, they put them down by your hands that way.
Oh my God.
Right, there we have it. I hope you enjoyed that. I have to say, I love it. I think it's absolutely amazing. Now that I've seen the finished chats as well. It's always lovely to hear people's reactions live. So thank you so much for coming. We've got people from all across the world who have joined us for this one. So that always makes us very happy. So thank you for that, and I hope you very much enjoyed it. Do make sure you share it with other people, because the more people that can see this, the better. That'll make us all very, very happy indeed. So look, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just have a chat with Jess. Let's be honest, none of this would have happened without Jess. She is, of course, the brains behind all of this and has done all the hard work and has been the one who's done really 99% of everything here. And I have to say, I'm trying to be proud of you, Jess. Well done. Another absolutely sensational film. This is fantastic. So I have to ask now. I've got questions, and I know that we've talked about this, but I kind of want to hear what you want to say, what you're going to say live on a Q&A. But
Sure.
how does it feel now, right? Because I mean, a year ago we had none of this done, and now here we are, 4 films done in less than a year. How does that feel to you?
I mean, it's been a really wonderful experience as a filmmaker and as a person in the community also. It feels, I think, going into the project when we started, or when we first said it, at maybe the end of 2022 or something. Um, I think I felt a certain amount of anxiety of like, oh, is this the right thing to do? Should we be doing this? Should I be doing this? But it's gone to a point 4 films in where I feel like, yeah, this we might be the right people for the right job in the right place at the right time to get all this done. And I'm really proud of the work. I'm really proud of the films themselves and the people we've worked with along the way. Just so many incredible people. It's been great.
And I have to say as well, the amount of people who have come forward to volunteer for these films. This is not easy to stand in front of a camera and answer these questions. It's not, we're asking some fairly personal stuff here, and it's quite incredible. I think the response and the support that we've got, and that people have like just found us and gone, yes, I want to be a part of this project. I mean, that's just incredible. Like, I couldn't have imagined that, like, even 6 months ago. Never mind now. It's just such a change from where we've gone. I mean, we started this just as a simple meetup, and look what's happened. Like, and I can promise you all, by the way, this is only the beginning. We have a lot more planned. We'll be around for a very long time, myself and Jess, and the team, really. So, but yeah, it's just great. So I have to say, I mirror everything that you're saying on that, and I do agree with you. I think you are the right person for the job. You have a great eye on this stuff. You've got, great perspective, and you show, obviously it's personal for you too, but you show so much empathy throughout the whole thing. It is brilliant, because there's a lot of stuff that was in this film that didn't go into the film, that ended up on the
Yes.
editing floor. So, you know, people wouldn't have seen that. But those of us who were around for the shoots, we saw that, handled it very, very well. It's not an easy thing to make somebody feel comfortable when they're having blood poured on their heads, and stuff like that, or
It
sitting in a
was a
public
worry. It
bathroom.
was a genuine worry. Like I was very confident in the idea, but and you talk about getting people comfortable and getting people relaxed. That's we're talking shop a little bit about interviewing, but that is the key to any interview in the world, like trying to get people comfortable. And the ask of being like, yeah, I'm gonna break through this door and then we're gonna conduct an interview, or, I'm gonna be stood over you as you're on that little table, with a fake alien bursting through your chest. It was an ask. Yeah, I'm just so happy everyone really brought their A game, I think. I think all of the
Yeah.
interviews were so solid. Really, really
They're
good.
really, really good. Really,
Mm.
really good. I mean, you've seen it on the film now, but like I said, a lot of, we can't put everything that people said in the film because there was a lot of footage shot. But every time the crew was standing around in absolute silence, just listening, just going, "Oh my God, like this is amazing." Hardly anybody ever talks like that.
Yeah.
So can I bring you back on this one, all right? Because film number four is this film is very different to the first three films, Trans Joy, Trans Pride, Trans Dysphoria. Very, very different because there was a whole set involved. It had to correlate to the films. Like, how did you come up with this concept?
It was really born out of the first series, I suppose. We'd had kind of a lot of questions, a lot of answers to the question, what keeps you up at night? Just inadvertently through the process of making those three documentaries. And the problem I was sort of having as an editor and a filmmaker was, it was it was not, they weren't the projects to have those answers. If you have a film called What is Trans Joy, a 10-minute rant about the government or, external forces like that maybe isn't the place for that. So I really wanted to try and address that as best as I could. And very quickly, the idea was, well, how do we do this in a way that is not going to bog people down, is going to be watchable, I think. I think the straight version of this documentary is maybe unwatchable. And that's just because of how sort of dark some of those topics is. I think it needed something to offset. Um,
Yeah, I
and
didn't
and and
expect to be
yeah,
laughing throughout
yeah.
a film like this. When you told me about it first, I was like, yeah, we're going to recreate all these horror movies. I'm like, oh my God, how is this even going to work? I wasn't sure what you had in your head, but you very clearly, brought it in. So, like, there's obviously a million films that have come up. So the concept, one thing, but how did you pick the films? Like, was it just the ones that you'd seen, or like,
So
did you hunt the film first?
we had a cheat sheet that of films that I really wanted to do. Like if I was gonna go to people and be like, oh, we should do this, this, and this, and we did some of those films, not all of them. But it was a note from yourself actually when we started the process. You'd said to me, if we can try and get it so that these films mean something to the people we're interviewing, then that's going to be all the better. And
Mm.
it was a tiny little message in our sort of introductory email. And, a lot of the people we interviewed are as big a horror fans as I clearly am, and will always and have this film to, dedicate that to. And I think it gave, a lot of extra passion. I think it was very quick. It became very quick that that was the way to do it. As soon as people were excited by the idea of being in one of their favorite horror films, I think it just elevated things a little bit more. So if we do ever do this again, and I don't think I would rule that out at this stage because it was a good idea and I've really enjoyed it. If we do ever do this again, there are more films to hit on my cheat sheet. But that's maybe for
I mean, there's a whole
2025.
world of films out there that we could use, obviously. But
100%.
these were, I mean, all the ones that you picked were ones that are extremely well known. I mean, let's be honest, these are iconic kind of
Mhm.
movies. But I will be very honest with you, there's only some of them that I have seen. My imagination is too good to be watching these films. It's not the film, it's what I do afterwards. And so no, I'm not. I'm not going to be doing it. But I've learned quite a lot about those just from watching the interviews. And I have to say, you managed to match the interviewees up very well with the film. They all suited the film that they, were in. And I
It
thought
was
that
a,
was brilliant.
it was really the pre-production process for the film was really fun. Even for some of the people who we talked about being in the film but didn't quite make it because the timing didn't work out. We were able. It just involved me watching a lot of horror films that I hadn't necessarily seen before. So one of them made it in Salem's Lot. I'd heard a lot about over the years, but I'd never sat down and watched the. It's like a 3-hour version of the film. Um, there are movies like Seed of Chucky that were talked about but didn't quite get in. Maybe next time. Yeah, it was just a joy to sort of go back to all these films, and then further that to hear how people are sort of personally connected to them. Some really great stories from the participants we worked with. It was a joy. It was a real joy.
Yeah, yeah, it really was. I thought it gelled together incredibly well, incredibly well. So, obviously you did a lot of shooting. And there was a lot of different scenes to recreate and a lot of makeup and a lot of building sets and all of this kind of stuff. But was there a particular part, like, or a particular, I suppose, bit of the film or just even part of the shoot that was like your most favorite bit?
Oh gosh. You know, this I suppose this question is going to be really easy to answer in the sense that because of the way the documentary is, my favorite moments are in the film because you can see me like laughing at them and like having a good time, like seeing my little face through the doorway for the first time was so funny. Even, I mean, I was so anxious about getting through that damn door. And
I remember.
you were stood next to me for that shoot, bracing it. Um, I don't know if you remember, but the first swing to that door, the hammer bounced, and I was so worried that, I was going to be there for 20 minutes and just
Yeah.
never getting through that thing.
No, it
Absolutely
went very well
terrifying.
because I mean that's one of those ones where you can only do it once, right? You're making a hole in the door, you got one shot of getting this right. So
I mean,
it went well. I enjoyed it. I have to say that was brilliant. I loved that bit, and I have to say, sorry, Gray, but I absolutely had the best time ever pouring blood on your head. That was brilliant for me. That every time I think of it, it makes me laugh. It's brilliant. Thank you for being such a good sport, Graham. We will talk to you in a little bit here, but okay.
yeah,
So now I have to say, you have asked this question to everybody else in the cast. You haven't answered it yourself. So what
agreed.
keeps you up at night?
You know, everything that we touched about in the film is something that, you know, it does affect me. I do worry about the way the government's going. I do worry about the unchecked hate we get from sources from Twitter and all of these sort of social media bits. They do worry me. Um, and I think as in this sort of position that we are, as far as like, leading the meetup group we had for the last few years, I worry about so many of my friends and people I consider family at this stage. People who are very close in my life. One of my rituals, I suppose, before the film came out, we had a group of trans girls from the meetup here at the house a few days ago to watch through the film and get feedback. And if I needed to make any last minute changes, I could. And the feeling of being in that room for certain moments, hearing and seeing it affect everyone a little bit differently. Like I really feel that. I really care for this community we've created. And, you know, I think on a personal level, what keeps me up at night most is, am I doing as much as I possibly could be? Without hurting myself, am I doing the right thing? And, I try my best with that, but it's difficult to wrestle with, I think.
Well, I mean, I think you are doing the right thing, and I think you're doing an amazing job. And I can't imagine anybody saying that you're sitting back on your laurels because look at what you've done. Look at all the work that you've done in here, and that's on top of everything else that's going on in your life here. So I, be good to yourself. I think on that one, what you're doing is amazing, and it is affecting an enormous amount of people. And so proud to be able to do this with you because honestly, like, so rare for us to have a voice.
Mm,
Okay, it's always other people who aren't us, don't understand us, shouting over us. So, this is, how we show what we're like to show that we are just normal people, intelligent people getting on with life. There's, a big hoo-ha about absolutely nothing, really. People need to get off their high horse a little bit and just to be able to show this because that's never shown. Everybody always goes on the sensationalist and the ridiculousness
yeah.
and it's not what it's like. It's just not what it's like. And so I think it's great what you're doing. I think it's great. I think it's great what we're doing, and we will continue. This is a snowball, not a snowball. This is a stone and an exponential curve as to where we're going here. I can promise you that.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's talk about the future then. because otherwise I'll get into another rant and no one needs to hear that. So there's obviously more on the line. Now, when I say on the line, coming up, at the beginning of the year, you gave me 14 different titles of films that we are probably going to do all of them over the next while. But what's the one that you want to do next?
I I wondered how much of this I would say on stream, and I suppose this is going to be a big tease for whatever the next film is. I
So
am,
it's slightly less spoiler alert then, yeah?
yes, I suppose so. No spoilers, no spoilers. So we at the start of the year we made a list of 6 films for a theoretical season 2 that we were going to go out and make, and What Keeps You Up at Night was the first in that 6. The one that speaks to me most and the one that we're excited about making next is the topic of sex and relationships. Um, and we have what I think is a really good pitch for how to do that in a meaningful way, in an interesting way, and I'm really excited about it. I'm working with Kat Egan again, a wonderful producer from the first series. Um, it's going to be really something, I think. We're filming again in January, it looks like thus far. And we'll hopefully be with you by Valentine's Day 2025. And that's all I have to say.
Excellent. Yes. So watch this space. Watch this space. I mean, I know what's going to happen, but yes, watch this space. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a fun one. That one. Brilliant. Well, listen, Jess, I have to say thank you so much for first of all doing the film, for coming up with the concept and putting it all together. It's absolutely amazing. You've done really a phenomenal job, and also
Thank you.
thank you for being so honest on the Q&A as well. Because I threw some last minute questions at you there, so you've done
Just
very well
keeping
on
me on
that.
my
So thank you.
toes.
Well, isn't that how we play things? Keeping each other on our toes. Brilliant. So, look, thank you, Jess. Let's move on. We are extremely lucky, everybody who's watching this stream, that we actually have turns out quite a lot of the cast have turned up for this for a Q&A. So now is a good time if you are on the Zoom to just please stick on your webcams and just unmute yourself so that everybody can see you. So
Look
there
at all
you
these
all are
wonderful
without
people.
without your makeup and without gunk on your head and stuff in your face and well done. You've all survived us throwing you literally in the deep end. So well done on that. So let me just introduce everybody. I mean, you can all see their names pretty much on it, but just in case. So just underneath Jess, we have Skylar Avery, who was in Alien. Thank you very much for that. We also have Isabel Bale, who was in The Exorcist, best nun I've ever seen. We also have Gray Burke Stowe, who is in Harry. And we have Saskia Menendez, who was in Nightmare on Elm Street. We have Adam Kahn, from the Blair Witch Project, and we have Sarah Jane Baker, I beg your pardon, from The Silence of the Lambs, and we did have Kay Naomi from The Shining, but I'm not sure where she's at. Maybe she's wandered off.
Yes, I'll drop her a message.
She might pop up. She might pop up. Brilliant. Okay. So first and foremost, to all of you, thank you so much for giving up your time. And in some cases for chasing us down to be a part of this film. You have no idea how much that means to us. And also for coming this evening to the launch and agreeing to be on a Q&A. We can't tell you how much that means to us. And everything that you input and all of your points and your comments and just where the world is at for you has been amazing for us to see. So thank you so much for that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to I have a couple of questions here, and I'm just going to throw it out, and I'll pounce on a few people, but we'll hopefully hear from all of you for each of these. Just three short questions, I suppose. Maybe Sarah, I see you at the bottom there. You're unmuted, so we'll start with you maybe. So tell me something. What was it that made you want to be a part of this project?
Is this me?
Yep, that's you.
What
Ready
made
Did.
me
for
want to be part of it? Because I'm
Yes.
a narcissist and I'm a show off. And my existence in itself is trans resistance. That's how I call it. And any opportunity that I've got to put my face out there and to show the gender crickets that um that I'm not going to go away no matter how much they shame me, and that I deserve to have a good life like all my trans brothers and sisters and non-binary friends. So I mean, I'm just going to get my face out there because I know it drives people crazy. When J.K. Rowling put my criminal record online, she made me internationally infamous, and the amount of hate that that was aimed at me. Um, she obviously thought that she was going to hurt me and make me shut up, but it was flattering that I got the attention of turf number one, and what I mean. I've been made out to be a monster, made out to be a demon, made out to be a deviant, and an absolute. I mean, so once I was offered the opportunity to go in this film, Silence of the Lambs, with my little dog Bob, I couldn't help myself.
Wonderful. Well, listen, thank you for that, sir. I enjoyed that.
Sorry,
Sister,
I've
can I
got a
ask you the
cold.
same question? What is it? What is it that made you want to be part of this project?
I just really wanted to be part of something that other people from the community were involved in making, and being part of something, that brings people together, but also sharing, our unique views. And some of us go through different challenges, and listening to those challenges, some of it is really heartfelt and moving. And I just love being part of such a great show. And I felt welcomed, I felt understood, and I felt accepted. So thank you all so much for doing this, especially to Jess and to also to yourself. So I'm really, really proud to be part of this show, and thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. And I have to say thank you as well for sitting in some water, which I'm pretty sure got cold. So
Actually, good host, actually. Nice and warm and help me out with the bath. So thanks, Jess.
wonderful. Isabel, can I ask you the same question then?
Um, I didn't know I was going to be involved in this project until less than 24 hours beforehand. And I had to desperately come up with a horror movie that was not going to be sort of high on props. I did it because I was asked, and I do what I'm told.
we had
Lovely.
we from going to from meeting Izzy or meeting Izzy online to having the film, 24 hours. I was in every charity shop in a 10-mile radius trying to find nightie at last minute, and that did not pan out. I had to Amazon a proper costume. Yeah, it was, but I mean, it turned out so good. He was so good, Izzy. Thank you so much for being part of it.
Yes. Yes, you really were. It was brilliant. Skylar, can I turn to you now again, asking the same question, why you want to be part of the project?
Yeah, so this is one of the other times I've been involved in like a documentary like this, and I am, as I said in the film, I'm quite proud and to be where I am, and I also know that I have a voice that maybe other people don't have or don't feel comfortable raising that voice. So same as Sarah, I'm going to be keep on being out there, keep on sharing not just my experience, but all of our experiences. We all have our own lived experiences through this, and yeah, the more we shout about it, the more we celebrate our joys and comfort ourselves for our worries and fears, then all the better.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. Because you were very personal with what you shared. So it was very, very good. And a
Thank
lot
you
of the
so much.
comments, if you read back in them in the chat, they relate very much to what you were saying there. So well done you. Gray, what are your thoughts on that? What being part of this project?
I've always felt that like horror films were in some ways inherently queer. And so it's a process of othering, and then it really helps when the viewer is able to see themselves somehow connecting to the other. And I feel like that's a lot of what we go through as trans people, is feeling that otherness from other people, and having to make a whole life and a whole existence out of it. And yeah, I kind of came up last minute as well, but I was jumping up and down at the idea of getting a bucket of blood poured on my head. So it was like no pun intended, a bucket list. Tick.
And you came all the way from Wales just for that, you know? So
I
yeah,
did.
thank you. Thank you. It was fun. I had a great time doing that. Thank you very much. So Adam, for you then, what was it like? What made you want to be a part of this project?
I guess for me, it was like echoing what people have about getting yourself out there, like many ways as you can. If you've got a platform, you might as well use it. And like, I'm an activist and I do a lot of writing as well. So I'm doing like spoken word and protests and writing articles and poetry and things like that. So I thought, well, why not try a different medium? And yeah, it was quite a unique experience, I feel. And it's really great to see that I've shared this experience with people that I know from different walks of life as well.
Yeah. And what was it like for you then, Adam? Obviously you did the Blair Witch Project, which meant you had sort of like lights in your face and you were outside and stuff like that. What was it like for you, like being on, I guess, on set and doing that? Because I mean, literally you turn up and then a camera is pretty much shoved in your face. So what was that like?
Yeah, quite unique. I've not done much filming before. I've had a few TV interviews and stuff, but yeah, having a light like shining right on your face as you're talking about things, it was almost blinding in a way, as I couldn't really see much outside, like of like not even the camera lens. So I guess it was a little bit like speaking on camera via Zoom or something like that, I guess. And it enabled me to be a bit more focused, I guess. But yeah, I love the kind of grassrootsy kind of nature of like the whole production. And when I got there, it was just all like, yeah, like sit here, we'll try this, and then it just kind of all came out, I guess. So yeah, really enlightening.
We were for Adam's interview. We had just filmed the Insidious interview with Kate Payne, who couldn't be here tonight. So I was, face to neck in black and red makeup, black and red oil-based makeup, just encased in this layer of paint, to the point where so I think if I remember rightly, to get oil-based makeup off, you have to apply more oil to your face, which was, I mean, certainly something that's going to keep me up at night. That's like a personal nightmare for me. I'd run through the shower and then came out like a drowned rat with all the black still around my eyes and mouth, and that was how. If you look at the final film, you can still see still kind of am a little bit demon, from the previous interview. But yeah, thank you so much for being a part of it, Adam. It was really cool.
Yeah, it was very, very cool. Very cool. Great. What about for you? What was it like being on set? I mean, let's be honest, you had the stickiest one.
Literally.
Well, except
Literally, yeah.
except for when it ended up in my eyes, it was all good. It was really interesting how comfortable I felt, and that's all down to you guys because um, I had not met you before the day, and I was quite anxious going into it, even though I was excited. And it was just like feeling so comfortable that I felt like I could be vulnerable. Like I could actually share things that were really important to me and really dear to my heart, um, with strangers effectively, and I think that speaks a lot to the kind of people that you are, but also, it speaks to the expectations that I had going in, was that we're not usually comfortable in new situations because we don't know how people are going to take us and we don't know how we're going to be treated. And so being able to have that that vulnerability is, I think, it's a testament to, Jess as an interviewer. But it was the whole environment there. It was just so supportive and kind and loving, and it meant that we could do these, sometimes scary things. It was really lovely.
Brilliant. Thank
Well,
you. Thank you for that. Yeah, thank you.
the
Skylar,
only
well,
time, oh sorry, the only
no, go
time in
on.
an interview I've had to sort of break to be like, I'm gonna dab your face now because I'd like you to be able to see me for the rest of it.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
a lot of interaction there.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there was. It was very sticky. Super. Skylar, what about for you? Because I mean, you were as well. You were sort of sideways, and we had to. I think you had a very bright light shone in your face for quite a long period of time, and I can only imagine how uncomfortable that was. But what was it? What was it like for you on set? Because you really didn't hold back at all with what you said.
So it's weird because I kind of did. It was like there's a lot of stuff that I still wanted to say, but there's just sort of, yeah, it was just you made it so comforting by focused on what I really wanted to say. Like we all have a lot of other fears and worries going on. As I said in the film, there was a lot of other things going on in my life, but everyone on set made it so welcoming for me to share what I really wanted to share. Yeah, and it was just making me feel welcome coming into your home, and just as you said, like this grassroots type film set of just a bright light shining on me and just very cold golden syrup just trapped onto my chest. So I can't imagine how that felt great. But yeah.
It was a lot of golden syrup. I didn't
Mhm.
know that's what made blood, but yeah, golden
Six
syrup.
six
Yeah,
liters.
yeah, yeah. We used a lot. We used a lot. Super. Thank you for that. Isabel, what about yourself? What was it like for you?
So I reiterate something that Skylar just said, which was there was so much more I could have said, and I think when we stopped and Gray came straight after me, and I bitched a little bit about the fact that I'd had come from the other side of London until I found out that Gray had done Wales and back in one day. So I got put in my
Didn't
place.
end up being back.
I could have talked with Jess for another 4 or 5 hours, and we would have covered everything. The question of what keeps you up at night, there are so many answers I could have given. And actually, I spent that journey thinking, well, which one am I going to give? And when I got there, it was lovely space. You're all wonderful. And I just felt, well, it's about just whatever comes out my mouth. It's not about sort of trying to prep for this and give the right answer. It was just, this is a lovely conversation to have. Uh, so yeah, it was like I also had a stonking cold that day, and I'm so glad that Jess has managed to make that not look like the case. So I'm very grateful.
I'll be honest with you, you had that very well. I didn't even notice, so you seemed fine. You did a good job. Very good job. So, Saskia, what about you? What was it like for you on set? I mean, just the visual of you in a bath.
It was a new experience for me, and I've never been on a set before. And you know what? I was really well looked after, and I must say, I felt very, very comfortable. I felt I could be vulnerable, I could be authentic, and I could share some of. I think what's really interesting, it depends on also where you're based and what you have to deal with. And being in the middle of London sometimes can be hard work, especially for us. So I think just being able to share that and I think just being able to do something different because I'm kind of do music and entertainment. So trying different mediums, like you said, was really good. It's a new experience and I learned a lot from it myself. So I really, really enjoyed it.
Wonderful, wonderful. And what about you, Sarah? I mean, you came with a little pal who kept us all occupied as well. Your lovely little dog. What was it like for you? You were on mute, my dear. There
Oh,
he is.
that's
You're on
Bob.
mute. You have to unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Oh,
Yeah,
There he
Bobby
is.
Dog.
Yeah, Bobby dog.
He goes
Exactly.
everywhere with me.
Yeah.
I think he's a spy for J.K. Rowling.
Right,
No,
I think you're a little bit more used to being like literally in the front of the media. So, but what was this? Was a little bit of a different one, right? But what was it like for you?
well, yeah, I've been on lots of TV programs and documentaries and stuff. But you know what? With the film crew, um, uh, with Jessica and that, it was beautiful. It was really great fun. It was a great time. It was a great time for bonding with people from the trans community. And I mean, it was beautiful. I really enjoyed my time. Um, yeah, but I mean, I drove over there in my convertible Mercedes with my gorgeous dog. My life's great. You know, I mean, it's okay. But periodically, I may have to spend more time in prison because, like I say,
Keep yourself out
when
of
I'm up
prison.
at London Trans Pride giving my speeches, I don't really have a filter. But I'm trying to smooth out my I'm trying to smooth my personality out a bit and not let myself down. I'll let my community down in future.
You have a good, strong voice, Sarah. I promise
But
you
my
that.
heart's pure. That's the thing these gender critical people don't get. My heart's pure. It is. Do you know what I mean? I've done bad stuff
Yes.
in the past, but you know, I have a good heart and I'm trying to focus on the good in me. And bless you, been asked to do a parody of Hannibal Lecter. I thought it was really quaint.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah, you did. You played it very, very well. Very, very well.
Thank you
So,
very much.
you're welcome.
I'm glad you thought so.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, Kay, you've come back on, so we'll pounce to you there now. What was it like for you, um, being a part of this project? Oh,
Oh,
we can't hear
you're
you.
muted
We
back
cannot
here.
hear you.
There we go.
Say something. Nope.
There
Try
we
again.
go.
You're not on mute, but we still
Oh,
can't hear you. So there's something wrong with your volume. Just give you a sec just to sort that out, and I'll come back to you. I think just while that is done. Okay, you'll come back. Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to ask this as an open question to everybody because I know that we can all go on a big rant on the next one, but by being part of this film, by having these films out there, you know, by you sharing your stories and what it means to you, what is your hope as to how this is going to help the trans community? Going to help to sort of give us I guess, a platform or just get us out there as the people that we are, not the people that everybody says that we are. You know, what are your thoughts? So if anybody wants to unmute and just talk, please just go for it.
I'm happy to jump in and start.
Yes, of course.
The visibility came up a lot actually in just my discussion, and I think every person who is involved in this, who is demonstrating a facet of just being a human, you're not, and Sarah said it, I think in the documentary, it's not just, you're not just trans, you're so much more. I don't look at my cis friends and think you're just cis. And actually, every conversation, be it about the stuff we talked about or the other trans joy, the sex and relationship one in February, the topics are relevant. It's about demonstrating that we are just people. And the more you put out of that, the better. And that holds true for everything, whether we're dressed up as nuns and prom kings or anything else.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. That is exactly what it's all about, showing just the normality as to who it is that we are. Does anybody else have a thought on that as to how you hope this will hit it? Yeah, go for it, Saskia.
I think it's important to educate people as well on some of the issues and barriers that we do face. And again, that authentic visibility is really important. It's coming from the community. It's not from outsiders. and to also like inspire the next generation of trans people that are coming up, you know, to know that they're not on their own and that there are people out there like us. And we often go through the same kind of stuff. So if we can save a life and support other people along the way, that means an awful lot to me.
Yes, yes. And I have to say, if I may just make one small point here as well, is that it's very nice to see people who are a good way if through their transition, if not completed their transition, because very often that is not what is shown either. It's always shown people who are either pre-transition or very early on. And that sets a very, you know, it sets up the wrong impression as to what it's like, because that period of transition is very, very small, really, in reality, you know. And the end result is a lifetime. And it's getting that and showing that visibility of that version, I think, to me, is certainly something that's very important. Does anybody else want to comment on this? Yes.
Can I jump in there? Because I think
Yeah.
it's important. I don't think it's right that we would suggest that someone is a particular way across their transition, because your transition could end at any point. Your transition can be anywhere. And I think it's important that we acknowledge that someone is just as valid if their transition isn't visibly obvious, and or isn't audibly obvious. And I get 100% where you're coming from, because I feel the same. And it's like when I look at things like Will and Harper and things like that, you often see people very early on in that transition. But I did want to make the point that we shouldn't just assume that people are a longer journey by visible or audible spaces.
No, no, 100%. I totally get where you're coming from as well. You know, look, there is no end to transition. It's a lifetime thing. But you know, we got that. Great. I think you wanted to jump in there.
Yeah, and I think that this is really important thinking about how it fits into the series of films that you're producing as well. Is that we're also not all one way, being that we're miserable, you know, because that is something that is often portrayed about trans people in the media is, oh, those miserable people, they hate themselves so much. They, you know, and through looking at, even though we're going through scary things, even though we have these things in our past that were really hard and sometimes almost took us out, we have joy. We've lived through it. We've come through it. We've found out who we are through that process. And yeah, there's great joy in our lives now, you know? And so I think that's really an important thing is, you know, growing up, I didn't know that trans people existed. I was an adult before I learned that trans people existed. And so not only knowing that, but like being able to look at it and say, oh, I could live a happy life like that. I could be who I am truly and find happiness still. And I think that that's something that we don't always see in the media.
Yes, I don't think we hardly ever see that in the media. Yes. Does anybody else want to jump on? Because we're going to close up fairly soon here. Is it okay if we can hear you? Yes. No. Oh,
It's
sorry.
okay.
Sorry, but thank you for trying. Thank you for trying. Is there anybody else that wants to make a last comment on that?
Me,
Adam, I
I
think
wanted to say
yeah.
something.
Yes, go on
Go
then.
for it.
I wanted just to reiterate what the last person said is that life could be shit even if you're cis, even if you're not trans. Life could be bloody awful. I don't think it. My life's my life's okay. Do you know what I mean? And I lead a normal life. Being trans is not an issue in my everyday life. I just get on and do the same things anyone else does. Pay my bills, do my washing, struggle to get the duvet cover on my duvet, take my dog for a walk, pick up his poo. You know what I mean? I'm not thinking about the people who are attacking me online and the people who are threatening to have me put back in jail. Yeah, do you know what I mean? I like to show people and say, look, being trans, it's not that important to me. It's just me.
It's just a part of who you are, not everything that you are. I got it. Yes.
Yeah,
We
I'm more than my transiness.
Of course you are. Of course you are.
I'm
Adam,
really
I think you
annoying.
want you're quite
BPD.
You're fun. Adam, I think you wanted to say something there. I think you'll be the last one if that's okay with everybody.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share that everyone here, whether you was involved in the production, whether you was a participant, and whether you're watching the stream or anyone involved, we're all making history. Like we are at the forefront of our community by putting ourselves out there for and as part of the community. And for me, that like being able to utilize our own authentic voices, taking back that autonomy to share our stories, share our multifaceted existences and intersectional existences from our own mouths is reclaiming that power that so many people and other institutions feel that we don't have. But everything we do is part of that history that we are making and we are creating for ourselves. So I feel that like everyone here is like you're all pioneers. We are all pioneers.
Oh, thank you. That's great to say. Thank you, Adam. And very, very good points as well, because you were dead right. You know, you were absolutely dead right. So look, I'm gonna hand back over to Jess. You know, I suppose the overall star is the one who makes the movie, directs it, and puts it together, and that would definitely be you, Jess. So look, firstly, well done, amazing job. But I'll hand over to you now.
I just wanted to say thanks to a few people, a lot of people, I suppose. I mean, first and foremost, I want to thank you, Ray, for being the best business partner a girl could ask for. I would like to thank all of you guys here in the chat and the other people who are in the film, all of the participants. You really brought your A game, and it really made my year. Thank you so much for that. I'd like to thank Jen for helping out with sound, Angus and Gemma for looking after the camera whilst I was either literally tied to a bed or grinning through a wooden door. I'd like to thank Agnes, not just for creating my favourite song of the year, but allowing us to use it in the credits. Please listen to Care Joel. Her song Rock With Me is just perfect. Thank you so much to Jenny for all of your last minute help with, introducing me to Izzy and Gray, and then even working on the thumbnail for the video today. You're a star. I'd like to thank both of my beautiful partners, Rachel and April, both for their support, but also if you enjoyed any of my makeup in the film, that was 100% Rachel for The Exorcist and Insidious. And then I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. Happy Halloween from everyone at Trans Matters Worldwide. This is the most elaborate way I've ever spent this holiday, and I don't think I'll ever top it. That's me. Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you for everybody for watching. Thank you. Take
Hey,
care.
thank you.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye bye. Bye bye.